Doctor Who, The Feast of the Drowned, by Stephen Cole. Read by David Tennant. How can something so big sink so fast? The thought kept drumming through J. Selby's head. He splashed and slithered over the slippery deck. It listed so sharply starboard he could barely keep his footing. The wind whipped at his uniform. He stared around as if he might sight the enemy. Nothing. The black sky, the churning darkness of the North Sea. There was no difference between them. There was a crew of 173 on board HMS Ascendant. Tough, capable sailors, all of them. They shouldn't be screaming, Jay thought. He clung onto a rail as a crowd of ratings scrambled past him. One of the ratings slipped and fell. Jay staggered over, helped him up. It was Barker, part of the gun crew. He looked terrified. Then the deck lurched again and they crashed into the black mirror of the sea. Jay clutched hold of Barker as they dropped down through the freezing water. His limbs felt so heavy, but he started to kick, to push himself up. Something rushed past him, going down. Wreckage? One of the crew? What? Jay's fingers were numb, hooked into Barker's uniform. Don't let go. It's okay. You can do this. Wasn't that what Keisha always used to say? He kicked harder. I can do this. Then Barker's body was wrenched away from him. Thrashing through the water, Jay finally broke back through the surface. He stared round. No sign of his ship. Or Barker. No sign of anyone. Only him. Floating alone in endless shadow. For a long, eerie moment he felt almost calm, lulled by the wash of the sea. Then something closed around his ankle and plucked him back beneath the waves. Something slammed into his back and punctured the skin at the back of his neck. It wasn't black down here anymore. There was a red, warning glow coming from somewhere. Like he was being dragged slowly down into hell. I can't do this, Keish. He could see horrible shapes spiralling through the gloom, cartwheeling corpses, chunks of metal juggled by unseen hands. Other things too. Swift, hunting things. Creatures. Was it one of those gnawing now at the back of his neck? He breathed in water, wanted the blackness back. But Jay could see everything now, and the cold, dead eyes of the hunting creatures may just as well have been his own. I'm so sorry, Keish. Rose Tyler held her old mate close. Keisha sniffed and pulled away. She was one of Rose's old clubbing crowd, wildest and loudest and craziest of the lot. She looked totally gorgeous when she was glammed up, but right now her black curls were ratted and her light brown skin was snail-trailed with tears. Jay was my brother, she murmured, and now he's just gone. Missing in action, they told me. His ship's been towed up the Thames in like 1,000,000 bits. Keish, there's always a chance. It's been 3 months now and nothing. Nothing left of anyone on that ship. Rose felt so weird inside. She'd had a crush on Jay when she was 14, and daft though it was, she'd never really been able to talk to him properly since. Now she never would. And it didn't seem real. She'd seen so much death in so many far-flung times and places, she was sort of hardened to it. Now, someone from her old life was never coming back, and Rose had no idea how to relate to it. The doctor was being no help at all, of course. He just stood there, staring out of the window. What did Jay do in the Navy? He asked abruptly. Keisha blinked. He did something in the ship's stores, spare parts and stuff. Naval Stores Sub-Department. The doctor wore a proper boy's smile. Oh, that's a brilliant job. 42,000 spare parts on your average frigate. Think what you could make with that lot. And they call those stores assistants Jack Dusties, don't they? The smile became a crooked grin. Imagine if your name was Jack Dusty and you became a Jack Dusty. And then, if Jack Dusty the Jack Dusty went to the planet Jack Duster in the Dusty Jack Nebula and joined their navy, he could... Keisha was staring at him like he had two heads. Rose had turned her pack-it-in glare up to 11, and he finally noticed. Chips, the doctor said suddenly. Chips would be good now. Who wants chips? Sounds great, said Rose quickly. The Chinese round the corner does them good and greasy. In foil trays, I suppose. The doctor looked suddenly crestfallen. You know, chips have never tasted the same since they stopped wrapping them in newspaper. Well, there's a newsagent next door. Buy a paper with the change on your way back. He perked up. Good thinking. Back in a minute. He slammed the front door behind him. They sat in silence for a while, the atmosphere lightened a little by the doctor's odd outburst. And then a ghost appeared in the corner of the room. It was Jay, a terrified, translucent phantom, soaked and shivering. Do you see him, Rose? Keisha whispered. Am I crazy or... No, I see him, Rose croaked. Help me, Keish. Jay's ghostly voice was muted and faint. Keisha swallowed. Jay? Jay? What is it, babes? Come to me, the phantom whispered. She shook her head. What do you mean? You gotta come to me. Before the feast. Feast? Rose got up unsteadily. Jay, if that's you... Jay turned to look straight at her. Little Rose Tyler, you gotta come too. You've got to get to me before the feast. He was growing fainter. Jay! Keisha shook her head. Stay with me, babes. Don't go. Then, as Rose stared in horror, Jay's features began to run like a painting left out in the rain. Keisha screamed as water gushed out from his mouth. Then the image was gone. All that was left was a large pooling puddle on the carpet. Then that seemed to soak away, leaving nothing behind. The doctor burst into the room. Rose gasped and Keisha almost jumped a mile. Hot, salty chips, foil trays, no paper, I'm afraid. Newsagent shut, full of fainting customers. Maybe it's his prices, what do you reckon? Doctor? Rose began shakily. Finally, he seemed to take in that something was wrong. You all right? She shook her head. We saw... That is... I think we just... Keisha was quite calm, her eyes shining as she stared into space. Jay came back. Rose nodded. He did. We saw him. This could be serious, said the doctor gravely. I only got enough chips for 3. HMS Ascendant. Mickey Smith stroked his chin, playing the great thinker. Type 23, 133 metres long and weighing almost 5,000 tonnes. Stealth design. They'd gone to Mickey's flat to do some research. Rose looked at him suspiciously. How come you know so much about it? I'm a boy, it's genetic. And 'cause it sounded a bit sus. Nice one, Mickey. The doctor slapped him on the back. Who says you're a total waste of space with no life? He riffled through some printouts. Sank just over 3 months ago. All hands lost. The doctor waved a paper under Rose's nose. Hooray! Look! Stanchion House. Government-owned marine engineering plant on the bank of the Thames, near Southwark. Now we know where the ship's been taken. That's good. He picked up a newspaper. It says here that as many as 20 people have gone missing near that part of the Thames since the Ascendant turned up. I reckon it's time we had a look at what's left of this ship for ourselves. Well, where can that ship have got to? Said Rose dryly, staring out over the Thames in the evening sunlight. Uniformed men stood stiffly on the deck of a squat, powerful tug. A huge, blocky shape was moored behind it, shrouded in tarpaulins. Both stood close to a white stone 3-storey building. Stanchion House. How are we supposed to see what's left of the ship with that lot around? Mickey wondered. First, we've got to get across, said Rose, and the nearest bridges have all been closed off to the public. Hasn't stopped her. The doctor pointed to a nearby suspension bridge. An old woman, smartly dressed in green, stood close to the side, staring out at the ship. Suddenly, she started to climb up over the safety rail. Mickey stared, appalled. What's she doing? What's it look like? Rose muttered, already hearing off towards the bridge, a couple of paces behind the doctor. Oh my God, she breathed. The old woman had very nearly hauled herself up onto the side of the bridge. She's going to do it. Chuck herself in. The doctor skidded to a stop. Excuse me, he called cheerily. I'm looking for Piccadilly Circus. Am I lost? He needs me, said the woman without turning. Who, me? I certainly do. You're right there. The doctor crept towards her. I could be wandering around here all night if you don't come down and help me. He needs me to get to him, the old woman went on. Before the feast. Rose's blood ran cold. That's what Jay said. The doctor nodded. This person who needs you, love, was he on board the Ascendant? I must help him, the woman declared. I thought he was lost, but now he's back. Yeah, you've seen him, haven't you? The doctor asked casually. Tell us about it. Tell us your name. Anne. She shook her head, the gentle breeze ruffling her white hair. I can't help you. I'm not from round here. Where are you from? Edinburgh. I only came here because... A sad smile. I don't much want to talk. No one would believe me anyway. Look out! Shouted Mickey, who'd made it to the top of the bridge. Anne looked up sharply, wavered for a second like she was about to overbalance. The doctor lunged for her, pulled her back. Rose tried to break the woman's fall by getting underneath her. All three went down in a heap. Mickey, have you gone nuts? Rose cried. Maybe, he was looking past them, but I reckon this lot are going to do their nuts. Rose turned to see a wall of khaki sprinting towards them. The soldiers clattered to a halt. This bridge is closed to the public, snapped a lean, hard-faced girl, leader of the troop. You've got no business to be here. We had to help this woman, said the doctor. You can see for yourself she's not right. You lot storming up here. We'll arrange medical care. You must clear this... The girl soldier frowned, put a hand to her head like she was in pain. Clear this area. She sank to her knees. Anne's hand flew to her mouth. Oh, my poor little boy. The soldiers started dropping to the ground, one by one. Mickey staggered backwards. God, I feel sick. Get out of here, the doctor ordered. Call an ambulance for this lot. He nodded, backed away. Chop, chop, the doctor added. Rose, get Anne out of here. Take her somewhere comfy she can rest. What about you? These soldiers were guarding Stanchion House. Now they're sleeping on the job. It'll be easier to get in, won't it? Especially with one of their pass cards. He straightened up and showed her what looked like a white credit card. Golden opportunity. Grab it while you can. The doctor soon reached the dark glass doors of the imposing stone building. He checked his reflection, made a vague swipe at straightening his tie, then pushed inside. He found himself in a posh foyer, all brightness and marble. The doctor slotted his stolen pass card into a turnstile, which beeped politely and let him through. A girl manned the high-tech reception. May I help you? The doctor ambled over. Be bold, he decided. Sir John Smith, scientific advisor to the Admiralty, at your service. He pulled out a battered leather wallet and waved it in front of her. I know I have an honest face, but here's my ID, just so you're sure. The girl nodded. The paper was low-level psychic and showed her exactly what she expected to see. Who are you visiting, sir? The doctor glanced down at the visitor's book to see who had been called on already today. I'm here to see, V. Swan. Vida from Ocean Research? Yeah, that's her. Floor thingamy, isn't it? Derek will take you, she said, nodding to a security guard. No need for that, I can find my own way. I operate the lift, sir, said Derek, firmly. Oh, well then. The doctor treated Derek to his very biggest grin. Take me to your Vida. Rose found it wasn't just Anne she had to look after. Mickey had been sick and was now sat with his head between his legs. This feeling just came over me, he moaned. My mouth went dry, I got all dizzy and then... I think we all heard what happened next, thanks, Rose grimaced. Hope that ambulance gets here in a minute.
An ambulance won't be necessary.
The dry, dusty voice made Rose jump up. She turned to find a spindly old man in full naval uniform had appeared behind them. He wore dark glasses and a thin white scarf was bundled about his neck. "What do you mean it won't be necessary?" Rose demanded. "Didn't you see those soldiers up there? They had some sort of fit."
"They will recover shortly,"
the newcomer informed them. "Who are you then?"
"Rear Admiral John Crashaw."
He smiled cheerlessly.
"Now, I understand this woman tried to throw herself from the bridge."
"She's all right now," said Mickey. "We were just going." Crashaw shook his head.
"I think perhaps I should look after her personally."
Rose frowned. "Why?"
"This area is out of bounds to members of the public."
"Because so many members of the public have disappeared?" Mickey challenged. "We've read the papers. We know something weird's going on."
"I am managing a routine situation and everything is under control."
Crashaw kept looking at Anne.
"Very well, you may go. Do try to remove yourselves from this area, won't you?"
"We're going," Rose assured him. The doctor had been taken up to the 3rd floor, and now Derek was leading him down a corridor. Not a sign of a workshop or a lab or a bit of old boat anywhere. He wasn't going to find much up here, besides a dubious welcome from Vida Swan. "Her office is at the end on your right," Derek announced. "You'll need your pass." "Of course." The doctor produced his white card with a flourish and carried on down the corridor. "Well, thanks for the guided tour. Bye." But Derek didn't shift. The doctor paused outside the office door. "I'm here, safe and sound." Derek nodded. "In you go, sir." "Oh, yeah, right." He rammed the white card home. With a bleep and a click, the door jumped off its catch. With a triumphant wave at Derek, the doctor disappeared inside. The office was small. Room for a desk and an internal door and not a lot else. On this second door, a nameplate read, Vida Swan, Liaison Officer, European Office of Oceanic Research and Development. Suddenly, the door opened outwards and bashed him on the nose. "Ow! Whoops! Oh God, I'm sorry." A willowy blonde swept out and grasped his face with both hands. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine." He pulled his face free of her grasp. "Well, hello then. You're Vida Swan." "Yes, I am." "How do you do? Sir John Smith, scientific advisor. So, listen, could you direct me to where the trouble actually is?" Vida frowned. "I'm sorry?" "You know, those bits of the Ascendant brought back from the deeps." He gently massaged his nose. "I mean, I can't sniff them out for myself now, can I?" "I suppose not." She parked herself on the empty desk and looked at him thoughtfully. "So why did you want to see me, Sir John?" "I didn't," he said. Not when I know you must be so busy. I mean, liaising with people all day." "It is difficult," she sighed, leaning back casually. "All these army types getting in the way. Rear Admiral Crashaw hushing everything up so no one will talk to me. And a Vice Admiral coming over from Norfolk tomorrow who's inspecting the wreck." "Norfolk!" The doctor beamed. "I love it in Norfolk, so flat. Ever done the Elvis experience at Yarmouth?" Vida cleared her throat. "That would be Norfolk, Virginia, home of the very important naval base." "Ah." The doctor clicked his tongue. "I should probably have known that, shouldn't I?" "Probably," she agreed. "But to be honest, I first had my suspicions when my PC read your pass card as belonging to Sergeant Jody North on perimeter security detail." "Ah, again. Part 2 of the previous ah." An uncomfortable silence ensued. "I'm the doctor, by the way." "Hello." "You'll be calling security then." "Already have." She slid off the desk. "Panic button under here." "Which you set off while leaning back in that cool and understated manner. Very good. Oh, very good." The doctor nodded approvingly and lunged for the outer door. "See ya." The doctor slipped into the lift. No Derek this time, so he stabbed the ground floor button himself. Then he saw the sheer metal plate beneath the working controls, like a covering. It was locked and wouldn't budge, so he fished out his sonic screwdriver. The lift had barely reached the 2nd floor before the plate fell open, to reveal 5 more buttons, none of them marked. Intrigued, the doctor changed settings on the screwdriver and cancelled out his ground floor choice. It suddenly looked like he could go down further. Far further. What lies beneath? He wondered aloud as the lift continued its descent. Crayshaw entered Vida's office without knocking. A habit of his, like wearing dark glasses indoors and that stupid scarf around his neck. She rose and nodded. "Rear Admiral, what can I do for—"
"The intruder!"
Crayshaw's voice was dry as dust.
"What can you tell me about him?"
"Very little. He wanted to know about the Ascendant."
"Why did he come to you?"
"I don't know." Vida shrugged. "He could have seen my name in the visitors' book. I was visited by my boss this afternoon."
"Mr. Dolan, yes. I ran into him on his way out of the building."
He nodded to himself.
"Mr. Dolan pulled many high-ranking strings to get you an office here."
"Is there a problem, sir?"
"I am attempting to maintain secrecy around a major incident at sea, Swan. I view your presence here and the coming and going of your colleagues as a possible security breach."
Vida raised her eyebrows. "With respect, sir, we have full security clearance and every right to be here. Our research team was conducting extremely important tests on the Ascendant when she went down. Naturally, we are interested in retrieving data relating to those tests and the chemicals involved."
"Well, you're wasting your time trawling that stretch of the German Ocean where the Ascendant sank."
"German Ocean?" She stared at Crayshaw blankly. He looked almost uncomfortable for once.
"As once that body of water was known."
He turned and crossed to the door. She saluted him, a two-fingered salute, as the door swung shut behind him. The Doctor emerged into a massive high-tech hangar. The huge floor space was divided up into sterile work zones. In each was a segment of ship pored over by bustling figures in white hazard suits. "An underground lair," the Doctor muttered happily. "Ooh, the sneaky devils." He strode up to one of the cubicles and studied the chunk of ship contained inside. "That's weird," he muttered. "Who are you?" A short, middle-aged man in a hazard suit had spotted him. "What are you doing here?" "Sir John Smith, scientific advisor, come to help." "Well, my name's Huntley and I've never heard of you." "You have a red pass, of course. Think I'd go anywhere without it? So, what's going on here then?" The Doctor leaned in towards the scientist, assumed a confidential air. "This ship hasn't been dismantled, has it? It's been carved up. So how have you done that then, eh?" He gestured to the section before them. "You've bisected metal inches thick. Electrical components, even bolts and rivets, and yet the edges are completely smooth. That sort of technology shouldn't exist for another 100 years. So where did you find it?" Huntley stared at him. "Well, if you don't know the answer to that, you're precious little use to us as an advisor." "Oh? How come?" "This is how we found the Ascendant," he said. "We didn't cut the ship up into pieces. Something else did." "Hi," said Rose as Keisha opened the door. "We need your help." Rose and Mickey helped Anne inside. "What's going on?" Keisha watched them as they manhandled Anne onto the couch. "Who's she?" Rose paused for a moment. "Her son was on board the Ascendant, like Jay." "Did she see her son, Rose?" Keisha asked. "Did he come to her?" "Peter asked me for help," said Anne. "He needed me to come to him." Keisha nodded urgently. "Before the feast, yeah?" Anne looked at Keisha, slow compassion spreading over her lined face. "Yes, that's right." "Jay was my brother," said Keisha. "He'll come to you again, dear, when he's found his strength. When our loved ones come again, we will be ready." The Doctor was acutely aware that Huntley was waiting to be impressed. So the whole ship was found lying in pieces, right? So, what sort of technology could do this? Hydrogen-fused anti-cellularization is my bet. Hydrogen? What? The Doctor gestured to one of the hunks of ship. "Look at those clean edges. That's real craftsmanship." Huntley looked bemused. "Craftsmanship? Well, craft alien ship might be a better word, or crafty aliens ship, even. A klaxon burst into a deafening wail. "Watch out, intruders about." The doctor raised his voice over the din. "So, anyway, these huge great chunks of ship. Bit big to fit in the passenger lift or slide down the stairs. You must have some way of transporting cargo from the river." Huntley nodded distractedly. "The underside of the tug locks onto a conveyance chamber concealed beneath the surface of the river. Hydraulic platforms take the cargo down an intake shaft into the main unloading bay, and from there—" He lowered his voice, uncomfortable. Everyone's staring at us." "My fly's not undone, is it?" "No. So what?" "Oh, hang on. You don't think that they think I'm the intruder, do you?" Suddenly, the lift door slid open to reveal half a dozen armed soldiers. "Fresh ideas, that's what's needed." The doctor shook Huntley warmly by the hand. "And I'm fresh out of them, so I'll do what I normally do in situations like this. Run." He turned and legged it. "Unloading bay this way, is it?" The doctor ran towards a set of oversized metal doors labelled decontamination. He hurried through. The soldiers were nearly on top of him, but the sonic screwdriver sent the heavy doors flying together. As the doctor moved further along the gloomy corridor, his sneakers splashed in shallow, mucky puddles. He stooped, dipped a finger in one, and gingerly licked it clean. "Salt water," he murmured. "But if this is the route down from the river, how come?" A loud pounding noise had started up behind him as the soldiers tested the strength of the metal doors. There was no turning back. The question was, could he get out the same way that the cargo got in? After a sharp turn, the access corridor opened up into a large, dark, circular chamber. There was no ceiling. The doctor was stood at the bottom of a large shaft, like a vertical borehole through the concrete. This must be the cargo lift shaft, used to ferry materials down to the secret workshops. It was impossible to know how high and far it stretched, the only lights being small white maintenance bulbs flanking an inspection ladder at intervals. A huge, filthy pool was set in the centre of the floor, some kind of drainage channel, and yet right now it brimmed with seawater. "So," the doctor announced, "are you just a blocked drain, or a nice little home for some special form of marine life?" He pulled a crumpled polythene bag from his pocket and dipped it into the water. He thought he got a flash of movement. A ripple dead in the centre of the dark pool, but the light was so poor he could have imagined it. He hauled himself up onto the inspection ladder and started to scale the shaft. But he had barely covered a couple of rungs before he stopped still. Parts of the ladder were wet. From the position of the patches, they could only be hand and footprints. Someone sopping wet had been here, climbing into the darkness, lying in wait. Wearily, as silently as he could, the doctor continued up the rungs. "Well, this is fun," Mickey announced, and Rose gave him a look. She couldn't blame him, though. They'd been sitting in tense silence for a good hour, waiting for something scary to happen. Although from the sound of soft snoring, Anne had opted out of the nerves marathon for now. "I'm going to get some fresh air," Mickey said. "I want to check the paper, see if there's anything about the ghost ship, people disappearing and that. Does that newsagent on the corner still open late?" Keisha nodded. "Maybe not today, though. Something happened there today, didn't it?" Rose nodded. "The doctor said some of the customers collapsed. There were ambulances and—" She trailed off. "Oh, God, how thick am I?" Mickey frowned. "What?" "Just before Jay appeared, those people in the newsagent collapsed. And when Anne saw her son, those soldiers went down." She got up. "I'll try and find out what happened in that newsagent." Mickey frowned. "I'll come with you." "Not worth it, I'll only be 5 minutes." "But I'm the one who wanted some fresh air." He looked hurt. "You think I can't handle this?" "You got sick last time, remember?" "Well, what about you? What if you get sick this time?" "Just 5 minutes." She turned and crossed to the front door. "Take care." "Just 'cause you're his mate, it don't make you indestructible," Mickey called after her. But her footsteps were already fading away. The doctor stole along a winding access tunnel. The water was already up to his shins. Suddenly, he came to a sloshing stop. A dark figure stood hunched against a door in the wall. "Hello," the doctor called. The figure didn't react. "Who are you? I'm the doctor." The figure froze.
Doctor?
"Yeah, well, no, not literally a doctor, but I—"
Can you help me?
It was a man's voice, hoarse, South Londonish.
Can you?
"Have you been hurt?" The doctor waded through the water towards him. The man spun round to face him. The doctor stopped in his tracks. It was a young black man, tall and burly. The sleeve of his ragged blazer was braided with the single stripe of a naval rating. Bloody welts sat like gorging slugs on his cheeks and neck.
"Where have you come from, then?" the doctor murmured. "What have they done to you?" "I had to get out of there," the young man said, starting to shake. "I can't stop them coming. You're a doctor. You make them stop."
"We'll figure something out," the doctor assured him. "But right now we have to get out of here." He held out a hand.
"It's my little sister, right?"
The rating edged forwards and the doctor saw his face clearly. There were 3 deep score marks in the skin of each cheek, twitching and puckering like baby mouths. And his eyes were huge, blank and bulging, a dull silver white like enormous pearls. The doctor stared at the man sadly, kept his hand outstretched. "Come on," he said quietly. "It's okay."
"My little Keisha."
The rating was wheezing for breath.
"I don't want to hurt them, but I can't stop it."
"Oh, blimey," said the doctor as the penny dropped with a nasty clatter. "You're Keisha's brother. Jay, isn't it?"
"Keish?"
"I'm a friend of Rose. You know her, don't you? Rose Tyler." As Jay stumbled forwards, choking, and anger as cold as the churning water stirred inside the doctor. "Who did this to you?" Hang on. Churning. The water was thickening like a strong, salty soup as he pressed the bulb of the sonic screwdriver against the hinges of the door. The water forced it open, surged through to engulf the first few steps of a metal stairwell. "Not far to go now." The doctor climbed up the stairs. "Come on, Jay." But Jay was convulsing, thrashing. The doctor was about to go back for him when a piratical figure burst out of the waist-deep water. It was a man, pearly-eyed, dressed in material once grand and finely embroidered. Then another figure rose silently from the churning liquid, a pale, thin man with a close-cropped beard. His bulging eyes gleamed like the iron cross that weighed upon his dark greatcoat, and his peaked cap bore the eagle insignia of the Third Reich Kriegsmarine. Where had they sprung from? The doctor started back down the steps.
"I'm not going to do it,"
Jay shouted, but a second later the pirate and the U-boat captain had dragged him down. The doctor splashed after them, but caught a glimpse of dark movement at the corner of the tunnel. It was as if the 3 figures had been swept away by some sudden, impossible current, though the water had become calm and still. There was nothing he could do for Jay now. The doctor turned and hurried away up the steps, eventually emerging into a cramped ship's corridor. He ran on until he reached a locked bulkhead. With a blast of sonic blue, he opened it and ducked inside, into the tug's cabin. The windows were shrouded by a heavy tarpaulin. It was anyone's guess how many soldiers out on the bank had their guns trained on him. And now that he came to listen, he could hear the ring of steel heels on metal. Someone was on board, coming his way. As Rose pushed inside the newsagent, she found herself hemmed in by mags and crisps and chocolate and bog rolls. There weren't many papers left, and none of them were screaming about the Ascendant. She hedged her bets and picked up a heavy posh one and the Star. An Asian woman sat on a stool beside the till, a tired smile on her face. "Looking for anything else, love?" "Sort of." Rose pushed past 2 grubby deep freezes. "I heard you had ambulances here." The woman grinned. "Actually, we did all right out of it. Had a real rush on the bottled water." "What do you mean?" "Advanced dehydration," the medic said. "Dangerous lack of water in the body." Rose bit her lip. She shuddered at the memory of Jay's ghost, water gushing out of his mouth. There was a link here. Had to be. But why water? Because the ship had sunk and drowned everyone aboard? "So you buying those papers then?" the woman prompted. "Oh yeah, sorry." Rose reached in her pocket and handed over a couple of quid. The woman took the coins, and then she fell backwards off the stool. "God, are you all right?" Rose crouched beside her, looked about for anyone who could help. But there was only the ghost of Jay, stood shivering between the samosas and the dog-eared birthday cards.
"Help me, Rose. Come to me," he pleaded. "Please. Before the feast."
Suddenly, Anne sat bolt upright, staring at the wall. "Peter!"
"What?"
Mickey stared, could see nothing. "Jay," said Keisha, her eyes shining. "Look, Mickey, he's here. It's Jay."
"Oh, you have so got to be kidding me,"
said Mickey, a shiver crawling up his back.
"There's no one there."
Anne was slowly walking to the door, like a sleepwalker.
"No, you don't,"
he muttered, rushing round to try to stop her. Then the sick feeling he'd had at the bridge returned. He doubled up, fell to his knees, heard the front door quietly click shut as Anne left the flat. Then he saw Keisha was making for the door as well.
"No way," he said hoarsely. "You ain't going to."
"I've got to go to Jay," she said calmly. He forced himself to stand.
"Now why don't we wait for Rose to get back and we..."
"He needs me, Mickey." She tried to push him aside, but Mickey wasn't having it. He grabbed hold of her and bundled her into the bathroom, held the door shut. There was a rapping at the front door.
"Keish, you all right?" "Rose?" Mickey croaked. "Get off that Anne! She's gone!"
"She's what?" Rose banged at the door.
"Is Keisha all right?" "She's gone crazy! Says she saw Jay!"
"So did I, out in the shop. There's all these people collapsing."
"I know how they feel," said Mickey. "Go on, get after Anne, move!"
"Take care," she shouted, and then she was gone.
"Take care?"
The door almost jumped from his grip as Keisha yanked on it, bellowing with rage.
"I shall be in care."
Gritting his teeth, he kept holding on. "I have every right to be here," Vida told herself, affecting a vague attempt at a swagger along the tug's dowdy corridors. "I don't want to be here, but if I'm going to find out anything useful before I'm thrown out of this dump..." She approached the tug's cabin and then paused at the sound of movement. Someone was inside. More warily, she edged towards the open bulkhead. And then the intruder peered round the doorway. Each clocked the other and jumped at the same time.
"You!"
cried Vida.
"Me?"
he agreed. "I'm the doctor. Hello. What the hell are you doing here?"
"Use your bonds, Vida. I'm trying to break out of your secret underground military citadel. What do you think I'm doing here?"
"Just who are you? Press." "Press what? One of these?" He jabbed a control button. "Very funny. I'll tell you what's not so funny," he snapped. "The Ascendant's been taken apart by means unknown to the human race, and I've seen the result of some kind of alien vivisection experiment on one of its crew." She stared. "Alien?" "Yes, alien. You didn't know?" "I know you're crazy," she said. "How did you get past the soldiers? I had to show them faxed authorization from Vice Admiral Kelper that I was allowed on board."
"He's the one from Norfolk, Virginia, on his way to inspect the wreck."
"Even so, I'm surprised those soldiers let you on board." She shrugged. "Seemed a bit out of it, especially poor old Private Jodie North, whose pass you pinched." He looked surprised. "Isn't she in hospital?" Vida shifted warily. "Why should she be? What did you do to her?"
"Tried to help her, and a patrol. One minute they're fine, the next they're nearly dead from advanced dehydration.
So any recovery would be quite miraculous. Unless..." He held out a hand for silence. "Shh! What is it?" she said, frowning. "It all comes back to the water," he said. "Something very freaky is going on. Something in the water." Vida jumped as with a sudden snorting roar the tug's engines started up. "What the hell are you doing?"
"We can't get off the boat with all those soldiers outside, can we?
So we'll just take her for a quick spin." "You can't."
"Can too."
He flashed her a wild grin as he crossed to the ship's wheel.
"Now, I know it's a bit tricky with these tarps over the windows, but..."
Suddenly, gunfire rattled out. The tarp jumped and glass shattered as bullets tore through the windows. Vida threw herself to the ground.
"They can't just open fire like that," she shouted.
"Excuse me." The doctor had dashed back over to the ship's controls.
"I could use a little help over here."
Vida stared at him.
"Give it up, Doctor, they're firing at you."
I think you'll find they're firing at us. Stop the engine! She shouted. I have clearance. Why would they be shooting at... You said yourself you put a thorn in Crayshaw's side. He shrugged, suddenly deadly serious. I think he allowed you on board so you could be killed along with me. The doctor was trying to squint through a hole in the tarp made by one of the bullets. Useless. I'll have to get out there and take off the tarp. You steer. The door handle finally slipped from Mickey's fingers as, with an almighty cry, Keisha rammed the door open. He threw himself at her ankles. Get off me! She shrieked, kicking to be free. No way! He shouted back. The phone started ringing. They both ignored it till the answering machine kicked in. Then, as a female voice crackled out from the speaker, Keisha went suddenly rigid. It's your mum, love. A long pause. Have you seen Jay? Because he needs us. We've got to go to him, ain't we? Together. Get to him before the feast. She stayed on the line for a few silent seconds. Then with a click, she hung up. Keisha was holding herself as still as a corpse, her eyes wide and staring. You ain't heard from her in a while, have you? Mickey panted. She shook her head a fraction. Not in years. Then her eyes screwed up and the tears started. Mickey stood up slowly, watched her curl into a ball. I'll make us some tea, yeah? He walked wearily over to the kitchen. I think we could both use it. Rose was sure Anne would be heading back to the bridge she'd jumped from before. She took a cab to near Waterloo, then ran down towards the river. There was a floating restaurant barge moored to her right, but so many diners had left their tables to stare out over the balcony rail that it was listing badly. A smaller crowd had gathered on a wharf jutting out over the river. As Rose ran to join them, she could hear more cries. Why have you blocked off the bridges? She's on that ship. She needs me. We have to go. And when she reached the wharf, she could see that down on the tiny stretch of beach, a dozen soldiers were struggling desperately with a ragtag crowd of men, women and children. A man nudged her, conspiratorial. They say they've had dozens chucking themselves in, he said. Determined they are. She's still there, sobbed a woman on the beach. You have to let me reach her. She's in the wreck of the Ascendant. They should have left that wreck at the bottom of the sea, said another man. They reckon this madness is carrying on up and down the river, anywhere they can get to it. They're chucking themselves in. Straight away, Rose realised that she would never see Anne again. There was another chorus of hooting from along the river. That's the tug on the news, someone cried. The one that towed the wreck. Rose stared, dumbfounded. Oh my God. The doctor was balancing precariously on the prow of the tug, wrestling with a tarpaulin. Doctor! Rose sprinted back along the bank, racing to keep level with the tug. She spotted something. Look! The river's blocked up ahead! Rose! The doctor looked across at her and waved cheerily. You all right? What are you doing here? What am I doing? The doctor had turned now to see what she'd seen, the ship with soldiers dead ahead. Don't like the look of them much. He pointed to the restaurant barge. Hard to stop these things in a hurry. Need something to soften the impact. You're joking. Get everyone clear. You're not joking, she muttered, adrenaline sweeping her straight onto the deck of the barge. She jumped onto a prominent table for 10, almost slipped in the salad, and kicked a lobster flying. Come on, everyone off! Rose yelled at the diners. Quick and calm, yeah? But she already had a full-blown stampede on her hands. The gangplank groaned under the weight of so many people clomping across it. The tug was powering towards them in eerie silence. The doctor was poised at the prow, holding the hand of some slimline blonde. Where did he find them? Rose jumped up onto the side of the barge and leaped desperately for dry land. There was an awesome, splintering crash behind her. Doctor! She yelled, her eyes fixing on the mangled mess of the two vessels. Both were sinking already. There was no sign of him, and her insides felt gummed up with fear. Surely he couldn't be... Then suddenly there he was, hauling himself over the side of the knackered barge. "You all right?" Rose said as the doctor approached with the blonde. He was limping a bit, but smiley as ever. "Right as a trivet," the doctor replied. "Do you think they minded me barging in like that? Sorry." He bustled them off ahead of him. "Vida Swan, meet Rose Tyler." Rose and the doctor caught up in the back of the cab on the way to the European Office of Oceanic Research and Development, the headquarters of Vida's organisation. Vida sat in the front seat. Her mobile phone was pressed to her ear, though she wasn't talking, just staring out of the window in silence. "I've seen Jay," the doctor said. "The real Jay, or what he's become anyway." Rose shivered to see the haunted look on the doctor's boyish face. Suppose he was holding up okay, considering he's been subjected to some kind of alien vivisection. Would he be all right? The doctor said nothing. She wiped wetness from her eyes. "Doctor, I so wanted to get to Jay. Once I saw him appear like that in the shop, I felt sure that he was there, under the river. The real him, you know, and I was sure that I could get to him." "But you didn't go?" "No, I stopped myself." She shrugged. "I never even knew Jay that well. It was just a sort of crush." "You said that when he first appeared in the flat he was speaking to Keisha, but then he noticed you too." "Yeah, that's when he asked me along to this feast thing, like it just occurred to him." He nodded. "How did that make you feel?" "I was too busy being scared to death at the time to feel anything, but maybe I was a bit, I don't know, hurt. No one likes feeling like an afterthought." "That feeling may have saved your life. When the apparition of Jay came to you again, maybe a subconscious trace of that resentment made you wary. Stopped you trusting him absolutely the way Keisha does. We trust the people we love to tell the truth. We trust them not to harm us. And some force is trading on that. But to do what? I don't know." He pulled something from his pocket, a little plastic bag full of water. "That's what we've got to find out." The Oceanic Research and Development offices were all high ceilings, white corridors, deep pile carpets, efficient and businesslike, but not too unfriendly. "I've been trying to get hold of my boss," Vida said. "Andrew Dolan, the man who swung me a place at Stanchion House despite fierce opposition." She brushed her hair from her face. Didn't know what fierce was then. "Got a lab round here?" the doctor asked abruptly. "What? Oh, yes, we have several." "Show me the biggest and shiniest." Rose found herself feeling sorry for Vida. She remembered how she'd felt when she'd found out just how many nightmares skulked in the shadows of her familiar world. "Are you worried about him? Your boss, I mean?" She looked grateful. "Crayshaw told me he talked with Andrew today. I haven't been able to get hold of Andrew since. So what do I do now? Go to the police?" "Wouldn't recommend it," chirped the doctor. Vida put her hand to her head, scrunched up some hair as she thought. "Will the Navy high-ups be in on this, do you think? It was a Commodore Powers who put Crayshaw in charge of this investigation. If we went to him and told him what's been going on, even if they believed us, what could they do?" "Well, I should surely warn Kelper." "The Vice Admiral from Norfolk," the doctor elucidated. "When he gets over here, he's meeting Crayshaw first thing and I'm supposed to be there with him." "I went on holiday to Norfolk once," Rose announced. "Caravan in Cromer, very flat." Vida sighed. "Let's see what we can find to tell him before he arrives. Big shiny lad through here, is it?" asked the doctor. "Oi, before you get old boy with the train set in there," Rose said, producing her mobile. "I'm just going to call Mickey, see how him and Keisha..." The doctor nodded. "Get him to drive her over here, now." "Why?" "I'm worried." "Okay, but why are you..." It was no good. The doctor had already vanished inside. In the lab, when she was finished on the phone, Rose stared at some charts on the wall, which showed loads of tiny dotted paths against a deep blue background. "What do you do here, Vida? I mean, what do you research in the ocean and that?" "We analyse the sea's constituent elements over time. We help establish global ocean and deep basin circulation patterns, identify biogeochemical processes in the ocean, explore the transport pathways of spilled materials." Rose turned up her nose. "Takes all the fun out of swimming in it, I'll bet." The doctor splashed some drops from his bag of water into a glass flask. "You use chemical traces to study the spread of pollutants, right?" Sometimes. And you release them from ships like the Ascendant? Vida nodded, slowly. For this experiment, we were using newly developed tracers, subatomic filaments in an aqueous base. After the ship sank, we took samples from the water to see if they'd been released before the ship went down. No sign of the tracers. But within a 3-mile radius of the sinking, we found salts and proteins unheard of on Earth. The coding was... She trailed off, shaking her head. It can only be described as alien. What is it that you're testing anyway? Rose asked the doctor. Water from the drainage pit beneath the cargo lift shaft. Smelled a bit fishy to me, so I... He noticed Vida look away. Bite her lip. Ooh, big fat reaction, Vida. Andrew, my boss, when the wreck of the Ascendant was taken to Stanchion House, Crayshaw started being super obstructive, so Andrew managed to get hold of the plans for Stanchion House, the underground part. We wanted to know if there was any other way of getting to the wreckage. Seemed about the only way we might find out what happened to our tracers. Sneaky, said the doctor approvingly. What did you learn? That the drainage pit was extended 2 months ago, shortly before the wreck was recovered. It was about the first thing Crayshaw did after he was assigned to manage the affair. But why bother? Said Rose. Come on, the truth's obvious, isn't it? The doctor was squinting through the eyepiece of a microscope. He's been getting things ready. Building a little home from home. Then that's where Jay's being held, Rose realised. And Peter. And quite possibly the rest of the crew too. But what about the likes of Anne? Why would they want relatives and friends? The doctor looked up crossly. Do you reckon Mickey's got lost? Where's that Keisha? Why do you need her? To see if I can find the same things in her that are in this water sample, he said, looking meaningfully at Vida. Alien salts and proteins. Vida nodded. I'll fetch one of the North Sea samples for comparison. And some hypodermics while you're at it. That okay? We should have some somewhere. So we're fighting dirty water, Rose summed up. That's impressive. We're fighting something that has an affinity with water, the doctor retorted. Something that can harness it, adapt it, even borrow it from human beings in the vicinity. What? Well, that's pretty much all you are, you humans. Big bags of water. I remember you saying something like that. Brain, 70% water. Lungs, almost 90% water. Blood, 83%. Your cells are full of the stuff. H2, oh my God, said Rose, a tingle running through her. Those soldiers, Mickey, the newsagent, all just dehydrating whenever a ghost comes near. That's how these things project themselves. I'm going to ignore the you humans bit, Vida announced as she passed the doctor the promised phial and syringes. So how come you think this stuff might have got into Keisha? Rose asked. Just a hunch. It's probably in your blood too. Come on, roll up your sleeve. Let's have a splash of the old red stuff. Oh, nice. Rose felt a buzz against her hip. Saved by the text message, hang on. She pulled out her phone. Mickey's outside with Keisha, waiting to be let in. The doctor turned to his beaker of water. I wonder how long this force has been waiting in the North Sea, and what decided it to let itself in now. He looked up at her. Just what does it want? Rose nodded slowly. And how long have we got to stop it? The doctor was shining a torch into Keisha's eyes. Gonna live then, am I? She asked. The doctor looked over at Rose. It's just as I thought. She's got alien matter in her blood. What worries me is the way it got there. Airborne infection? Mental projection? He clicked his fingers. This is about pheromones. Pheromones taken to the max. We bunked off science, okay? Pheromones, a kind of communication through chemicals, he explained. What if these water creatures collected sensory information from Jay about himself and the people that lived in his memory and exported it? What, you mean like opening a computer file and saving it as something else so another program can read it? Exactly. They exported it as a bundle of alien pheromones and transmitted it through human cell water. And when they find someone they recognise from Jay's memory, someone who responds to the pheromones, they help the victim make sense of the signals to create the apparition and, wallop, you're caught. But why? Why reel in the crew's loved ones like this? Will you just shut up? Keisha stared at him, her eyes big and shiny with tears. You make it all sound like... Like it's just a stupid crossword clue or something. Jay's in trouble. He needs me. My mum's seen him too, and when she gets here... Must have been a bit of a shock hearing from your mum after so long, Rose said. The doctor frowned. Probably saved her life. A jolt to the consciousness like that. Like you not wanting to feel like Jay's afterthought. Keisha's natural emotions overcame the exaggerated ones stirred up by the pheromones. But even now they're starting to take control again. Stop it! Keisha shouted. We're going to be a family again. Me, Jay, Mum, all of us. Her face twisting with tears, she turned and stormed out of the lab. Rose began to follow her, but the doctor grabbed hold of her arm. You see, she can't think straight. That alien stuff won't let her. She's still my mate. I better see if she's all right. She paused. What are you going to do? I'm going to keep testing that water. He unrolled a large sheet of paper on one of the lab benches. And I think I'd better take a look at Vida's plans of the underground citadel. Rose raised her eyebrows. What are you looking for? He gave her his craftiest grin. A back door. Happy hunting then, she waved and went off after Keisha. But on her way out, she noticed a small puddle on the tiled floor. For a moment her heart skipped. Then she looked up and saw a discoloured patch on a ceiling tile. A little bead of water dripped down from it. She blew out a shaky breath. What was she like? It was just a leaky pipe or something. As she went off after Keisha, she didn't see the puddle swell and bubble out from the tiles and start to flow inside the lab. Mickey was helping Vida to search through the computer records. Find anything weird yet? He asked her. Apart from the way I'm sitting here with a complete stranger riffling through confidential files for clues as to why an alien intelligence might have sunk a frigate? No. Only asking, he muttered. A vice admiral is showing up in a few hours. What do I tell him? Tell him the truth, that it's down to aliens. It's one thing finding unidentified organisms in seawater. It's another finding them in the bodies of senior naval personnel. Besides, Crayshaw would rip a story like that into pieces and I'd soon follow. Crayshaw? Mickey flung his arms out in a big stretch. He's the big man, calling the shots, yeah? Skinny little man, more like. Rear Admiral John Anthony Crayshaw, what about him? Bit past it, don't you think? Who put him in charge? Good question. Vida shrugged. We made some inquiries trying to go above his head, but no one seemed quite sure how he was selected. We were referred to a Commodore Powers, but he never got back to us. Mickey sat up straighter in his seat. That's Commodore James Powers, age 45, on the Directorate of Navy Plans at Whitehall, yeah? Yeah. He's responsible for deploying those soldiers around Stanchion House. Vida looked over to his desk. Why have you brought his file up? Why not? His lips moved a little as he read. Then he frowned. Powers was on a tub that went down in the North Sea too. Or the German Ocean, as Crayshaw calls it. She scoffed as she crossed to join Mickey. I know he's old, but the North Sea hasn't been called that since forever. Looking over his shoulder, she checked out the file. 3 years ago, HMS Lancer. Powers was the only survivor. Mickey clicked on another area of the website. What about Crayshaw? Wonder if he ever sank. Vida waited while he searched. How long since they stopped calling the North Sea the German Ocean? Mickey said suddenly. I don't know. Sometime in the 19th century? Well, old habits die hard, and he's been around long enough to get a few. Vida frowned. What are you on about? The only place I can find any mention of this Crayshaw bloke is in the naval history section. He was 55. His ship, the Ballantine, went down in a storm. And what do you know? That was in the North Sea. In 1759. They sat in silence for about 2 seconds before jumping up from their seats and sprinting to tell the doctor. The doctor caught a flash of movement in the corner of his eye, looked up from the plans. No sign of anything. Then he realised the water he'd been analysing had vanished. The beaker was empty. A faint seaside whiff caught in his nostrils. You're here, aren't you? He said aloud. Then he saw the sink was almost full, and yet he'd run no... The water jumped out of the sink like a living thing, struck his face as cold and hard as glass. He couldn't breathe. The water was squeezing up his nose, through his lips, forcing its way into his eyes. Revenge, he thought. It's testing me just like I tested it. No, he said, spitting the word out into the water, forcing himself to stay calm. Get out! But the pressure was rising in his head. It was like tasting history, old, sour and salty on his tongue. He felt the growth of slow centuries, ancient knowledge amassing somewhere beyond the tip of his mind, an insistent feeling that the time was drawing near, time for the feast. Screaming soundlessly, the doctor clung on to consciousness as the water stepped up its attack. Rose found Keisha further down the corridor. "Keish," she said gently, "are you okay?" "Yeah, great." Keisha turned around, her face hard and tear-stained. "Do you remember Old Scary?" "Course I do," said Rose, puzzled. Old Scary was a weird nutter who used to tramp around the estate when she and Keisha were kids. "He used to scare the hell out of me," Keisha went on, "yelling old poems and stuff, remember?" Rose nodded. "He used to scare me too." "Well, next to your doctor, Old Scary's a cuddly teddy bear." "Oh, come on. Rose, how can you bear him? In like 5 minutes he scared me more than I've ever been scared in my whole life. He's poked me about, told me I'm turning into an alien and my brain's being messed with." A shout interrupted her. Hey, what's happening?" Rose turned to find Mickey rushing down the corridor, Vida just behind him. And then the monsters came back. Suddenly water flooded down from the ceiling, drenching them all. Rose was knocked to her knees and Vida let out a shriek of surprise. The water seemed to thicken and suddenly 3 threatening figures stood in the corridor. One looked like a pirate. One looked like he parked his sub outside. The third was a woman in Victorian dress who might once have been pretty. Now, like the others, her face was blotchy and bloated, eyes like enormous bulging pearls. Mickey started forwards to tackle the pirate, but was knocked back by a powerful blow. "No!" Rose shouted as he crashed against the wall and his eyes flickered shut. She grabbed the U-boat captain by the shoulders, but he shrugged her off quite casually, sending her sprawling into Keisha. The Victorian girl and the pirate were already making for Vida. The U-boat man was following. "Run, Vida!" Rose shouted. "It's you they want!" Vida had just twigged, ran back the same way she'd come. As Rose scrambled back up, she saw the Victorian girl melt away. A wave of water surged along the corridor, broke over Vida's ankles, swept past her. And suddenly, the Victorian girl blinked back into existence. Vida tried to duck aside, but the girl snatched her up. Rose sprinted over to help her, but the pirate turned and lashed out with the back of his hand. She parried the blow, gripped onto the white, wrinkled flesh of his fingers. It was like clutching maggots. Suddenly, she was knocked aside by a huge rush of water. Blearily, she saw a shape being swept away, kicking and screaming. Vida, helpless as a child caught in a flood. Rose got up again and gave chase. The corridor was already bone dry. Mickey was still slumped against the wall, rubbing his head in a daze. But Keisha was on her knees, slack-jawed, staring after the bizarre kidnappers. "Look after Mickey," she snapped, "and tell the doctor." The doctor struggled up from the lab floor, but it felt more like he was pushing himself up from some dark, distant seabed. He wasn't having this. "I'm not like humans," he spat, pushing out the words with the last of his breath. "You can't have me." His mind began to clear. He clamped his eyes shut, felt water squeeze out, nodded furiously, willing himself on. "Get out of me!" he shouted. And at last, he could breathe again. "Doctor!" "Mickey?" The doctor spun about to face him. "We were attacked," Mickey panted. "These jokers in fancy dress, they came out of the water." "They did? Oh yeah, I'll bet they did." The doctor ran over to check on him, killing several birds with one wet stone, reabsorbed the water sample, tried to suss me out since I'm not a local, and "They've taken Vida," said Mickey. "Just sluiced her away in a load of water." "Rose went after her," Keisha added, cowering back out in the corridor. "Did she?" The doctor winced. "That wasn't very wise. Brave and adorable, yes, but not wise. But why would they take Vida? How are we supposed to know what a puddle wants to do with his life?" Then Mickey froze. "Hang on. This Vice Admiral bloke she was supposed to meet, 'cause her boss has gone missing. If she can't meet him, she can't blab, can she? And Crayshaw gets off the hook." I don't think Crayshaw is too worried about some bigwig rapping his knuckles. But bigwigs do have their uses. "God, we were going to tell you," said Mickey. "Crayshaw's old. We're talking 250 years old. He's in the naval records, drowned at sea." "The aliens got him," said Keisha fearfully. "But how can he be so ancient?" The doctor didn't look surprised. The human body is 70% water, and salt's a natural preservative. Throw in some alien biochemistry. "He was wearing shades when we saw him," Mickey confirmed. "He must have pearls for eyes like the ones who whacked me. He's one of them." "Let's get to the Mickey-mobile," the doctor said. "We'll find Rose on the way. We need to go to Stanchion House. These things will have taken Vida there." Rose tried to reach the river's edge near Stanchion House without being seen. Easier said than done, given the number of coppers and squaddies roaming about. She hurried down to the small jetty. By the moon's feeble light, Rose saw the twitching bodies of a pair of soldiers on the jetty, clutching at their throats, mouthing in silent gasps. She was just leaning over to examine them when a blinding light bleached out the scene, as powerful floodlights were trained on the river. She flinched, lost her balance, plunged head first into the freezing water. "This is the Thames. What the hell am I going to catch from being in here? Or what's going to catch me?" She felt something snag at her trainer. She kicked out, tried to free herself, but it was no good. Something sharp punctured the back of her neck. Rose flailed furiously in the freezing water, but her lungs were already bursting, and vague and horrible shadows were drifting all around her. Terrified, she fought harder, and finally she kicked free of whatever it was dragging her down. She swam upwards, ignoring the steady throbbing at the base of her skull. She had no breath left. Every movement hurt and dizzied her. But somehow, she kept going. She had to get away. Mickey drove the doctor and Keisha all around, but there was no sign of Rose or Vida anywhere. And all the roads down near the river were blocked off with barricades and soldiers, so they couldn't even get to the most likely places. Now here they were back on the estate. Mickey walked Keisha up the stairs to her flat in silence, while the doctor waited in the car. Keisha fumbled for her keys. The tinny little tune of a mobile phone broke the silence as they went inside. "It must be Anne's," said Mickey. "Do I answer?" He bottled it and let the phone ring on. But as the tune stopped dead, he noticed the display. 23 missed calls. She had as many voicemails waiting, and he found himself dialing the answer phone number as prompted. A woman's voice spoke softly in his ear. "Anne, it's your sister. I've just seen you, but... Oh, Anne, it can't be you, can it? You can't be under the Thames." Mickey felt the mother of all chills mess with his backbone. "It's a trick, it must be," Anne's sister went on. "Tell me it's a trick. When you get this, tell me you're okay." She rang off. "Anne's one of them too." He looked at Keisha. "She's turned into a ghost thing like Jay." "She can't have," said Keisha. "She was never on the ascendant. How?" "The same thing's happening. They drown, they come back. They trick more people into drowning. Sort of like a cycle, don't you get it? The effect's spreading." Mickey stood up. "Come on, we've got to tell the doctor." But Keisha was staring past him at the doorway. He turned. It felt like he was moving in slow motion. Rose was standing there. "Oh, Mickey! Keish, you've got to help me." She gave them an encouraging smile, and a trickle of water ran from her nose. "Help me, before the feast." The water washed away from Vida, and her senses began to return. She was in a dank, dark hole. The ground was wet and hard, gently rocking beneath her. The ceiling rustled above her. It was a piece of thick canvas stirred by the wind. Other things were stirring in the darkness. She could hear slithers, dragging sounds. "Who's there?" she whispered. "Where the hell am I?"
"I believe this was once the Ascendant's storeroom."
That was Crayshaw's voice.
"You are in a part of the aft section, towed here by the tug."
He chuckled softly.
"Crashaw would think of it as a Trojan horse. He had an appreciation of the classics."
"You creatures were hiding inside the Ascendant," she realised. "Used it to get yourselves brought here."
"Humans enjoy puzzles. They have such inquiring little minds."
"What are you? Where are you from?"
"We have no name. Our history is irrelevant. We live and we spread. We are of the water hive."
"So you dismantled the Ascendant underwater just to intrigue us?" She nodded, reasoning it out. "I suppose Commodore Powers knew it would be coming your way. He's your advanced scout, right? Ensuring that the pieces of the ship would be taken straight here to a key naval establishment, a secret stronghold, and then you could use that secrecy against us." A deeper chill sounded in his voice.
"Your intelligence is sound, Miss Swan."
"Are you after the filament tracers on board the Ascendant?" He didn't answer her. "Have they been poisoning your seawater, or do you plan to use them against us somehow?"
"We can manipulate all moisture as we choose. Your technology means nothing to us."
"Without it, we would never have learned you were here," she realised. "No wonder you wanted me out of the way."
"We suspected your department knew something of our activities,"
Crashaw agreed.
"but Andrew Dolan knows so very little, while you know a great deal."
A soft chuckle.
"He is ours now. He was to have dealt with Vice Admiral Kelper on our behalf. Now you shall meet Kelper in his place."
"What have you done to Andrew?" she hissed. As if on cue, a ghostly light stole into the room. The stooped, brittle form of Crashaw was revealed, standing just in front of her. And now she could see Andrew. His full, proud features just as dear and familiar as if he was sat in his office chair. But he was so pale. And when he spoke, the image seemed to ripple like a puddle at the end of a rainstorm.
"Help me, Vida," he breathed. "Save me. Before the feast."
"You're not real," she whispered. And now Vida could see what else was with her in the shadowy belly of this piece of the ship. People, rasping for breath, slashes in their cheeks and necks quivering like little mouths. She saw the real Andrew among them. And there was Rose Tyler, staring sightlessly with shiny eyes. Are they dead?"
"Our creatures must acclimatise," Crashaw explained. "Soon they will learn to draw their oxygen exclusively from water. The gills we have grown for them will serve them well. Perhaps now you see why poor Mr. Dolan cannot meet the Vice Admiral."
It was sick. Horrible. "You can live on land and in the sea. Why can't he?"
"The trauma to his body is too fresh."
He gestured to himself.
"Total mastery of the human body is only possible after years of cellular integration."
"Why are you doing this?" she hissed. "And why is Kelper so important to you?"
"For the same reasons he is important to you, my dear," said Crashaw blandly. "His authority, his office, the fleets he commands, these are necessary to us."
"Don't you think the naval brass might notice he's grown gills and pearly eyes?"
"His voice on the phone, his codes on a computer, these are all we require."
He nodded.
"And you will help us to procure them."
"Yes, I saw Rose too," was all the doctor would say. He strode through the walkways of the estate with a look in his dark eyes that said, "Do not mess." Mickey could hardly keep up with him. "We've got to go to her," said Keisha. "She's right, Rose needs us," said Mickey. The doctor didn't break his step, didn't turn. "Shut up," he said. "But she's in danger like Jay," Keisha insisted. "We have to get to her before the feast." "Shut up, shut up, shut up!" The doctor rounded on them both. "This whole planet could be in danger. Do you think I don't want to go jumping into the Thames after Rose?" He pinched the bridge of his nose, closed his eyes, trying to get a hold of himself. I do want to. And I didn't even see her clearly. My senses are about 1,000 times smarter than yours. These creatures haven't got the measure of me yet, haven't learned how to press all my buttons, but they're having a damned good go. His eyes snapped open, urgent and soulful. Now listen to me. You know those critters in the river are fishing for humans and they're not throwing them back. Knowing that is making it easier for your brains to fight against the alien effect. Don't trust the voices in your head. Don't trust these images of Rose. Trust me. Mickey considered. What are you going to do? I'm going to get Rose back. But she's dying, drowning. Yes, the doctor cried. The dead are no good to these aliens, but they can merge with humans as they drown, rework the body, so that at the point of human death, something altogether more malleable is born. He turned to Mickey. Right, you're with me. Where are you going? Mickey asked. London's going down the tubes. And I suppose I am too. Not for the first time, Mickey was wondering how come he ever let the doctor talk him into doing anything. He'd meant it about going down the tubes, or, more accurately, down Aldgate Tube. It was 6:30 a.m. and the underground station was just opening. The doctor sonicked open a staff-only door in the side of the wall. It gave onto a cupboard space full of emergency equipment. Leading off from there was a narrow access corridor ending in another locked door. Soon the hum of the screwdriver was filling the little room. With the lock shocked to bits, the doctor opened the door to reveal a cramped circular tunnel, sloping downwards at an alarming angle. The walls were a thick spaghetti of coloured wiring all the way round. Phone lines. Secret government link-up in case of nuclear war. The doctor whispered. Keisha and his mates don't realise that this conduit passes within just a few inches of the decontamination chamber. Resonate the concrete till it falls apart and we'll be in. And from there, we can get inside and face these creatures in their lair. Keisha marched Vida into the reception of Stanchion House. At first, the place seemed deserted. But then she heard a voice. Vida, what the hell is going on around here? I just strolled in. What the hell has happened to security? A massive man in full naval dress uniform was striding towards them. Kelper. All London's gone crazy. Couldn't reach Andrew nor you. Vida opened her mouth to speak, but Keisha got there first.
Miss Swan informs me you have arrived to inspect the wreck of the Ascendant yourself, Admiral.
Kelper spoke frankly. Your administration of this affair seems to be a mess, John. I found government ministers chasing their tails, a lack of communication between the naval ranks, a general absence of explanation as to how the Ascendant came to be in bits at the bottom of the sea, a conspiracy of silence.
There is no conspiracy, I assure you,
said Keisha, all smiles, crossing to the lift.
You must inspect our underground laboratories for yourself. The sooner this matter is ended, the better.
The doors slid smoothly open. Run! Vida shouted suddenly, grabbing hold of Kelper's sleeve and yanking him away from Keisha. He needs something from you. I don't know what. She started to drag Kelper after her, but as she heard water splash under her soles, she knew it was already too late. A carnival procession of pale, bloated freaks stood blocking the turnstiles. Her blood chilled at the sight of the Victorian lady, the pirate and the U-boat captain. And there were others. A dark-haired child in Regency lace, a group of young sailors in bell-bottoms, an old man in a stained apron.
As I said, sir.
Keisha had removed his dark glasses, and now they could see the scabrous pearls that bulged obscenely from under his lids.
The sooner this matter is ended, the better.
Keisha jolted awake from an uneasy sleep, a low, panicky feeling in her stomach. She opened her eyes. The ghost of Rose was standing sad-eyed and dripping in front of the TV. She opened up her arms like she wanted to give Keisha a big, wet hug. Please, she whispered. I'm coming, said Keisha, crossing to the door. Rose looked so grateful as she splashed away to nothing. Vida was shoved into the lift after Kelper, propelled by cold, dead hands. What the hell is happening? He stared in horror at the ice-white, bloated faces pressing in around them.
"We are close to the spawning time,"
said Crayshaw over the smooth whine of the lift descending.
"And so you are needed, Vice Admiral Kelper. The ships of your navy must help us to spread."
Kelper sneered and shook his head. "You're crazy." The lift doors whooshed open. There was a clatter, a sudden hubbub, and at once Vida saw why the building above ground had seemed deserted. Everyone was down here in the secret labs. Soldiers, security guards, cleaners. The squad leader came forward to address Crayshaw while his fellows held back, staring uneasily as the sinister crowd spilled from the lift. "Sir, we've been waiting for your orders. Surely the protection of this building and the wreck outside should be our priority, not these labs." "We've all been stuck down here for hours," snapped a cleaning woman, clearly too tired and angry to be afraid, "while you're mucking about having a fancy dress party. I've got to get on, you know." Everyone jumped except Crayshaw as the doors to the decontamination room opened. Suddenly, with a rushing, thundering roar, a wave of filthy water came flooding in. Vida shut her eyes as the water came gushing towards her. Then the wall above the decon chamber exploded. A welter of concrete and shrapnel boomed out in an awesome dust cloud, splashed down into the torrent of water to create an impromptu dam. The filthy wave broke over her and the others, but seemed somehow robbed of its force. The echoes of the explosion span round the enormous room. Crayshaw gave an inhuman shriek of fury, but carrying above it came a very human-sounding voice. "Ha! Now that's what I call resonating concrete!" "Doctor!" Vida yelled. He was crouched on one knee, that screwdriver thing of his clamped in one hand, laughing like he couldn't quite believe what he'd done. She was already up and running towards him. "Come on!" she shouted to the others. "It's the cavalry!" The ones not paralysed by fear and shock, Kelper, the cleaner, a handful of soldiers, ran after her. But Crayshaw and his barmy buddies weren't distracted long. The water was soon seething around their feet, sucking at their heels. "Come on!" That was Mickey's voice. "You can climb up the rubble. We'll help you." Vida scrambled up the rock pile. For a giddy moment she felt safe at last as Mickey pulled her up from the precipice and into a cramped circular passage wreathed with wiring. Mickey looked accusingly at the doctor. "This don't look like a decontamination chamber." "I was close," the doctor said defensively. "It's just down there. Wasn't I close, Vida?" Vida hugged him. "Close enough for me." Kelper pulled himself through the hole in the wall. "I don't know what the hell's going on," he spluttered, "but those are aliens." "Oh, do you think?" The doctor affected puzzlement. Then he noticed a red-haired soldier struggling up the teetering pile of concrete. "Private Jody North!" She reached out frantically for his outstretched hand, and he hauled her up. "I pinched your pass. Sorry." "It's all right," she said. "I'm going AWOL." She retreated into the cable-strewn tunnel. Oh, God! Vida saw that the rest of the crowd were trapped in the water. It had frozen to ice around them. Only the cleaner stood a chance. She had managed to pull one foot clear. The doctor jumped down to help her. He grabbed a lump of concrete and hammered at the ice. "Where'd all this water come from?" Mickey wondered. "The Thames, I suppose," said Vida. "There's a way up from the drainage pit to the river. That's how they flooded it in the first place. They can influence water." "Yeah, I see that," croaked Mickey. Crayshaw was coming to get them. His gruesome army had burst apart like water balloons. Now he rode the resultant stream like an aged surfer towards the doctor. "Yes!" Vida cheered as with a final desperate blow the doctor freed the cleaner's foot from the icy trap. She lost her trainer in the process, reached up for Mickey, who grabbed hold of her hands and yanked her up to the ledge. The doctor hurled the trainer at Crayshaw's head. The old man's dark glasses were knocked clear. He twisted and fell backwards, while the doctor climbed up the rock pile and rejoined the others. Vida swallowed hard, pointed. "Look at Crayshaw!" He was lying on his front. In the fall, the scarf around his neck had come loose. Vida caught a glimpse of something bloated and hideous skulking at the top of the old man's spine. A wide eye glistening in a slimy carapace. "What's that fishy thing?" asked Mickey. A glimpse of the real enemy. Probably plugged right into the brainstem for maximum control of the subject, the doctor said, as Crayshaw righted himself.
"Return Kelper to us," Crayshaw said calmly, "or we shall destroy Rose Tyler, Andrew Dolan, all of them."
"You need those people," the doctor argued. Crayshaw shook his head.
"The calling goes on. So many come to answer. The number of victims increases exponentially. Soon the Thames will be choked with bodies, all awaiting our purpose."
"And what would that be?" the doctor breathed. "Just why do you need so much flesh?" Vida felt sick as an especially nasty penny dropped. "Doctor, he said that these things are nearing their time to spawn." "What?" Mickey turned up his nose. "You mean those fish things are gonna reproduce?" Vida pointed at Kelper hanging back in the passageway. "They want him to arrange ships to carry them and their hatchlings around the world, to start the whole thing over again and again." "Hatchlings? From eggs?" The doctor stared at him. "So that's why you need incubators. Human incubators, I'm right, aren't I?" Crayshaw smiled.
"It is the spawning time."
Yeah, and the living is easy. How long have you been on Earth anyway? How many centuries?"
"We lay dormant for so long. Our numbers few, our energy is spent from projecting ourselves through space. We recharged, drew energy from the creatures of the sea."
"And then you got a taste for drowning humans." The doctor's eyes were wide and dark. "Got your teeth into the dominant species, saved them from death so you could give them something worse."
"We learned from them, learned the possibilities of their world and how we could walk among them. Crayshaw was the first. He became the hive queen. Now it is the spawning time."
"Lovely. So you make the Thames into a paddock for your underwater cattle, and once the eggs hatch inside them, the newborn devour the flesh from the inside. A proper feast. Well, I'm going to stop you, whatever it takes." The doctor beamed at Mickey and Vida as he strode backwards away from the ledge and into the gloomy quiet of the tunnel, where Jodie North was still waiting. And once there, his brave face dropped like a ton of bricks. "Think they believe me?" Nobody spoke. The only sound was the water roaring round the ruined lab, like an angry hunter cheated of its kill. Keisha was pushing her way through the thronging streets. She had met the first soldiers some way from the river. The checkpoint blocking the road was one of scores that had brought traffic to a standstill, as drivers were forced to divert down all manner of back streets. There was more than just annoyance in the eyes of some of these passers-by. She saw despair, anger, determination. How many of them were looking for a way through to the river? Then she saw Jay, there in the middle of the unseeing crowd. He looked anguished, holding out his hands to her. She couldn't hear his words this time, but she could imagine them. "Why are you waiting, Keish? Time's running out." She had to get to the river. Deep in the drainage pit, Rose could feel the terrible cold of the water around her. With the cold came an awful clarity. I shouldn't be here. But she could feel the alien eggs inside her like little weights holding her down. Once she had been devoured by the hatchlings, this dark, freezing world would be theirs to inherit. Rose struck out through the darkness, pushed against the bodies all around her, trying to keep calm. If she could only find a way out. She moved slowly through the eerie ranks of the drowned. They milled about in the thick water, the dull gleam of their silvery eyes the only light, their hair drifting lazily in the water like weeds. Then Rose's heart twitched as she recognised a figure. Jay, it's me, Rose." He saw her and smiled sadly.
"I tried so hard not to bring you here."
"You didn't. I got myself into this."
"I tried to escape,"
Jay told her.
"They brought me back."
"Then we'll try again." Jay clutched at Rose's arm.
"I could see Keish. Couldn't make myself heard, but I could see her."
He looked at her.
"She's on her way."
Vida was huddled with the others in the shattered section of the tunnel. Kelper was examining their surroundings. "I take it these conduits lead back to the surface?" he asked. "I must get to someone in authority. We need to wipe out these things." "What you need to do," the doctor told him, "is to seal off the Thames. Countermand any order that's been given by Commodore Powers. No ship is to leave for open sea under any circumstances. Got it?" "But I'm US Navy," he protested. "It'll take time to arrange." "Make it happen," the doctor thundered. "Now move." Vida interceded. "It's okay. You can trust him. 100 metres up this tunnel. Then right, left, up a bit, left, straight on at the junction, a right." The doctor paused, frowned at Kelper. "You getting this?" "I am," said the cleaner breathlessly. "My boyfriend drives a cab. It rubs off on you." The doctor gave her a rakish smile. "Like I was saying, left, right, and then straight on till you reach a cupboard at Aldgate Station." He lowered his voice, nodded confidentially at Kelper. "Oh, and look after the bloke in the braid. Apparently he's important." He patted Jodie North on the back. "Go with them too." She swung her gun onto her shoulder. "Protection. Safety in numbers. What about you? Just get going." "No, hang on, she's got a point," said Mickey. "What about us? What are we going to do?" Jodie hesitated, reached into a pouch in her uniform, pulled out a chunky grenade. "Bullets were no good. Maybe I should have tried this." She pressed it into the doctor's hands. He stared at it, bemused, like it was Christmas and she was handing him an Easter egg. "Tar, Jodie, but no tar. I could never use this." "I could." Mickey gingerly took the grenade himself. "Not even you can talk everything to death." The doctor set off down the tunnel. "Well, now that Mickey the untrained civilian's got a hand grenade, hey, we're safe as houses." "Yes," sighed Vida. "Aren't we just?" A thought suddenly hit Rose. "Hang on, Jay. What do you mean you've seen Keisha?" "I tried to warn her away, but this stuff in me wouldn't let the words out." "But you could actually see her through the eyes of your image. If you can do it, maybe we all can. Just imagine, we could play these creatures at their own game, confuse their message, get our own ones through." But even as she said it, Rose doubled up with pain, clutching her temples. Mickey held aside a fat bundle of wires so the doctor could do his sonic stuff on the tunnel wall. It was supposed to be a safe place to break through, into a kind of basement beneath the labs. Suddenly, he started choking.
"My mouth's gone dry."
"Mine too," hissed Vida.
"Stop it, Doctor."
Rose glowed into sudden ghostly existence right in front of them.
"You mustn't interfere. They'll kill me if you do."
"Rose!" Mickey shouted out and collapsed, clutching his legs. Water poured from the spectre's eyes.
"They'll destroy me."
"You're destroying them," the doctor shouted back. "Listen to me, Mickey, Vida, whatever you're seeing, you mustn't believe it. Shut it out." "Can't," croaked Mickey, staring transfixed. Vida felt her insides ache and burn, wanted to cry, but no tears would come. "Rose, remember what I told you," the doctor implored the vision. "We trust the people we love to tell the truth. We trust them not to harm us." "What's she doing?" gasped Vida. "The apparition is strengthening itself with the water from your bodies." The doctor clutched hold of Mickey's hand, pressed his forehead up close to Vida's. "You must shut it out!" An enormous, crushing blackness was bulldozing through Vida's head, but she could still hear the sound of Rose's voice.
"Don't fight, Doctor. Surrender to us, or your friends will die."
Rose heard Jay's voice in her ear.
"Go with it, Rose. Go into the image. Open its eyes and look through them."
Jay was cuddling her. How many nights had 14-year-old Rose Tyler spent dreaming of this? She felt a sudden contented glow inside her. A glow that grew brighter. White hot, like the supernatural shine at the centre of the TARDIS. She closed her eyes, but somehow that made the light brighter still. So she opened them again. And suddenly, she could see Mickey on the ground in some poky little hole, and the doctor wide-eyed and fierce and desperate, Vida reaching out, racked with pain. We trust the people we love to tell the truth. "Stop hurting," she said. "Just stop hurting them." Vida felt the blackness beginning to clear, saw the image of Rose was losing form and focus. "You what?" The doctor started nodding encouragingly at the phantom. "Rose, say again."
Doctor, forget about me. Just stop these.
The image burst into droplets. Vida felt sick. Her head ached, but she was alive. "What happened?" asked Mickey, pushing himself up off the floor. "Rose fought the hive influence, hijacked the apparition and used it to communicate with us." Vida felt slow and unsteady. How? Maybe she had help. Maybe the water hive's influence is being spread thinner as its victims rack up. Maybe it's because her travels with me have affected her body's makeup in some way. He shrugged and smiled to himself. Or maybe just because she's Rose. "I suppose it shows that these creatures aren't completely unbeatable." "You've done pretty well at proving that, Vida," said Mickey. "They tried to shoot you while escaping with him, and you escape. They tried to kidnap you and drag you back here, and you escape." The doctor got to work with his sonic screwdriver again. "Good point, Mickey." "What?" "Their attitude to Vida hasn't been all that consistent, has it? The water hive went to a lot of time and trouble spiriting you away from your offices. Why?" Vida frowned. "Just unlucky, I suppose." "Hang on!" he yelled. "It's because of me and what I got up to in your labs. That sample of water from the drainage pit. I must have made it shout for help." Vida was far too tired and scared to be offended. "So Crayshaw's minions came running, thinking that since I work there, it's me who's doing it. They didn't know any better. Their water tried to get inside my head, but it couldn't." He licked a finger and smoothed one eyebrow. "My God, I'm just too good." "So what were you doing to that water?" Mickey demanded. "Vida, you know those tracers you were hoping to release from the Ascendant? I just mixed some into the alien water to see what happened." "And what did happen?" "Nothing. The water didn't seem to care. No frothing, no churning, no bubbling over, nothing." The doctor froze. "Nothing." "Nothing?" He yanked down hard on the housing of the screwdriver, made it flare into bright blue life. "Nothing!" And then the wall exploded. Vida threw herself backwards into Mickey as the three of them were peppered with chips of concrete. "That's a pretty big kind of nothing," Mickey choked. "And so was that nothing in the water," the doctor crowed, waving his arm about to dispel some of the thick concrete dust. "The hive didn't want those tracers to use as a weapon. It didn't want us to have them, in case we used them as a weapon. Rose has just proved that the alien signals can be overridden. If we could somehow use the transmitters in the tracers to amplify that effect, we could stuff these creatures right up." Mickey was smiling too, caught up in the moment. "And so we've got some of these tracer things, right?" The doctor pulled a face. Not as such." "Then we're the ones who are stuffed." "I know where we can get some," Vida announced, almost reluctantly. "But how the hell would we activate them?" "Never mind that." The doctor grabbed her by the waist. "Where are they?" She shrugged. "We had a great big batch of them stored aboard the Ascendant, remember? They're in the ship's stores on board the cargo trailer." "Ah, terrific," said Mickey. "So basically we're stuck way down here, about as underground as it's possible to be, while the stuff we need is floating on top of the river." "Looks like it," the doctor agreed, his eyes darting all around. You could almost hear his mind working its way through a million mad strategies. "Still, look on the bright side, Mickey." He flashed a small but dangerous smile. "For you, the only way is up." "I did it," Rose breathed. She was slumped on the floor, numb all over from the freezing water, but something fierce and satisfied burned inside her. "What happened?" asked Jay. She realised he was squeezing her hand. "I saw my friends, spoke to them. Just for a minute." She struggled up. "It was so hard, though." "Rose, can you talk to Keisha?" Jay asked urgently. "I can try," she told him, squeezing his hand back. Crowds of people surged up to the blockades that barred all access to the Thames. Sometimes the army fired shots in the air, trying to scare them back, but the crowd barely reacted. Keisha understood these people. They were on a mission to save the ones they loved, and so was she, whatever it took. Suddenly Rose appeared. Her friend was floating in front of her like a ghost. She looked terrible. Her face was scored with bloody lines. Her eyes were all wrong, silvery smooth, no pupils. "Stop!" Rose shouted. "It's a trick! Evil! You've got to stop!" "But Rose, Jay's safe. But he won't be if you come." She gritted her teeth. "Whatever you see, keep everyone back." Away from here! Get me? Keisha wiped away her tears. What can I do? We're sorting it! Then the image was gone. More gunshots were fired off above the rioting crowd, and Keisha didn't know what to do. I did all I could, Rose told Jay. I think I got through to her, but I don't know. It's crazy up there. In fact, she stood shakily up. I think we need to go there ourselves, to the surface. I almost got out before, said Jay. The waterway to the river was guarded, so I tried the cargo lift shaft. Managed to get all the way up, but I was too slow. They found me, took me back. Now there are guards making sure no one else tries it. The tug's gone anyway, said Rose, so no escape that way. We'll just have to leave the same way we came in. If we can only get out of here, show people what's happened to us, tell them how they're being tricked. What have we got to lose? We're full of alien eggs that could hatch any minute. There's nothing to lose, Jay agreed. Then round up the boys, said Rose. We're busting out of here. The doctor had sent Mickey and Vida up the emergency stairs while he doubled back the other way. He was the main target, so he figured there was a better chance of them making it up and out of the building without him. But the water was already chasing them. They reached the top and slammed the door shut behind them, pelted along a corridor, through some more double doors, along another corridor. But behind them came a savage splintering noise as the stairwell door was torn from its hinges by the great rush of water. Seconds later, with a stereo crash, the double doors were thrown open. The hissing, bubbling sound rushed closer and closer. "We can't outrun it!" shouted Vida as they stumbled into the main reception at last. "Remember Crashaw down there?" Mickey scrambled up onto the reception desk, pulled her up after him. "Old Sea Dog, new tricks!" The tide of dirty water smashed through into reception, the stairwell door pitching on top of it like a massive surfboard. Mickey nodded to Vida and jumped for it. He landed awkwardly, but at least he was on board, and Vida was clinging on behind him. She shrieked and he yelled as the miniature tsunami reared up, carrying them above the turnstiles, and straight into the plate glass frontage of Stanchion House. The door hit the thick glass edge-on and shattered it. Mickey twisted round so his back took the impact, fell forwards onto Vida. For a second the two clung together as jagged shards rained down around them. Then their makeshift bodyboard hit the ground and Mickey was thrown clear. He must have blacked out for a minute. Next thing he knew, Vida was cradling him on the ground. "Did we make it?" he asked, staring round, head spinning. "Almost," she told him softly. And as his vision focused, he saw the pirate, the Victorian lady and the kid, all looming over him. Their heads looked too big for their bodies, the faces bloated and eel-white, misshapen eyes ready to plop out of their sockets as they reached down to tear at him with shrivelled, groping fingers. "Cooey!" The doctor peeped through the hole he had made in the wall of the underground laboratories. They had been trashed and deserted. Big cracks had opened in the floor and walls where bits of ship had toppled over. It was eerily quiet. Water suddenly gushed out of one of the cracks in the floor, and Crashaw formed from the foam.
"Why have you returned?"
"Like the humans you're manipulating, I couldn't stay away. Caught up with Kelper yet?"
"You will soon be recaptured."
"If not, it sets back your plans for expansion, doesn't it? You need the ships he can arrange for you." Suddenly, the bloated corpses of two fishermen appeared, grabbed an arm each and twisted. The doctor shouted in pain. Didn't struggle.
"Why have you returned?"
Crashaw asked again. "To deal. Like I said, no Kelper, no ships, no expansion." The doctor half smiled. "But I have an amazing ship, and powers that are, frankly, godlike. I'll share these with you, if you leave the Earth and its people alone." Crashaw stood impassive and blank. "Come on," he complained. "This is a top offer, amazing value. Through me, the hive can spread not only through space, but through time." Suddenly, the scarf around Crashaw's neck started to twitch. His flesh melted away like wrinkled wax to reveal the true creature controlling the old, stiff body. "Well, well," said the doctor. "The hive queen is an ancient one-eyed eel the size of a chihuahua." But the queen was twitching, swelling up, her glutinous body growing bigger and fatter, stubby fins and protuberances squeezed from her vile body like pus from a zit. Soon, the creature had swollen to the size of a small car. "I suppose you do that to intimidate your prey?" the doctor asked softly. "It's very good, very effective." "You wish to share your powers and your ship with me," hissed the queen. "I wish to take them." Held helpless in the grip of her guards, the doctor could only watch as the queen slithered towards him. Vida shut her eyes as the hands came down for them. We so nearly made it, she thought. But now it was over. The sound of sirens and shouting carried from the other side of the river, and she bellowed back, in fear and pain and anger that these things would get away with. "Stop!" came a familiar voice. "Leave them alone, or I get it." Vida's heart jumped in her bruised chest. She looked up, past their gruesome pursuers, and saw Rose in a man's dripping grip. With a sick feeling, she took in the bloody lines scored in the flesh of their cheeks and necks, the pearly tinge to the eyes. And behind them she realised a menagerie of figures, horribly disfigured, was shambling closer. "Look out, Rose!" she yelled. "It's all right, they're on our side," Rose told her. "Couldn't have got past the guards without them. So hear this, you water zombie things. Get away from those two people or I'm history, and so are the eggs I'm carrying." She gestured behind her. "And this lot will kill each other too. Just watch them." Vida saw that a large chunk of broken glass was being held to the girl's neck. "Get your hands off her," said Mickey hoarsely. He tried weakly to stand, but Vida shushed him. "Don't," she whispered. "Look, they're doing as she says." To her astonishment, the three guards were backing uneasily away. Their instinct is to protect their eggs. Vida helped Mickey get back up, and they limped warily over to join this bizarre cavalry. She saw that the pirate and the kid had disappeared, leaving only the Victorian lady giving them the evil pearl eye. "They've gone to ask Mum what they should do," Vida surmised. "We can't have long." "Where's the doctor, Vida?" Rose asked. "He went to distract Keisha, the leader of the hive, to buy us time so we can get the tracers." "What, those chemical things you chuck in the ocean?" "As summaries of my life's work go, that's not bad," said Vida wryly. "The doctor needs us to get those chemical things you chuck in the ocean, but—" She pointed to the cargo dump left behind when they'd taken the tug. "They should be somewhere in the store lockers, the place you were brought to acclimatise after they did that to you. Do you remember?" "Oh yeah," said Rose, shivering in the sunlight. "So basically, if we can get past the walking drowned and the sea monsters, we're laughing. What do these tracers look like?"
"Big metal flasks wrapped in a kind of posh crate,"
rasped one of the sailors, a dark-skinned boy.
"There were 100 aboard."
Vida stared. "How did you—"
"I worked in the stores,"
he told her, wheezing for breath.
"I don't know how many survived the wreck. Maybe none at all, but I'll see what I can find."
"We'll need the whole crate," Vida said. "It's part of the release assembly. It'll take 2 to shift it, minimum." "I'll go with you, Jay," Rose told him. "Can't you just stay here?" Mickey urged her. "What, here where it's safe, you mean? Say you'll kill a sailor or two," she told Mickey, squeezing his arm. "It might keep those things back for a bit longer." He nodded bleakly and watched her run with Jay over to the cargo dump. "Fingers crossed," murmured Vida, and went to find herself a mutated sailor to threaten. The store in the cargo trailer was just as cold, wet and dark as Rose remembered.
"The flasks were kept over here,"
said Jay, exploring the shelved walls of the store.
"Yes, some must have fallen out, but the crate itself is sound. Give me a hand undoing these straps. We can drag it out."
"Come on then." But as Rose splashed across the floor to join him, she heard a sucking noise, whirled round. Behind her were 3 things. Glutinous and white, they were slithering over the wet floor towards her. Rose's stomach turned. They looked to be part slug, part fish. Two long, needle-like tusks stuck out from the white jelly flesh of their faces. "Jay," she said shakily, backing away. "We've been rumbled." He swore, tugged at the top of one of the flasks.
"Can we use these on them?"
"I don't know how they work," Rose told him. "What are we meant to do with them anyway?"
"I don't know. I can't get it out of the crate."
Jay smashed his fist against the metal.
"Useless."
Uh-oh, here come more of them. The pallid creatures were uncoiling from the dank darkness beneath the shelving, pushing out their heads like giant snails.
"They can't hurt us, can they? Not with what's inside us."
"They won't have to. Just wash us back into the river along with the latest recruits, drag us back down into the pit." She stared round helplessly. "Back to square one."
"Then we'll have to leg it while we can,"
said Jay. He readied himself to jump the encroaching creatures. Then he stopped.
Oh no.
A towering grey-brown wedge of solid Thames was peering away from the surface, ready to come crashing down on the cargo trailer. "The crate!" Rose yelled over the oncoming roar. "Jay, grab hold of the crate!"
"It's no good. It's not heavy enough,"
he told her.
"The wave will wash it out with us."
"Exactly!" She hugged the crate, gripping on as hard as she could. "If they're going to take us, they can have this too." Then the wave struck. The ground tipped, the freezing water sledgehammered Rose's back, knocking all breath from her. Grimly she clung onto the crate as they were swilled back out of the dump and into the river. There were voices shouting for her, Mickey's and Vida's too, but she couldn't catch their words. The crate dragged her down, but she wasn't going to let go now, not if this was the one thing the doctor said could hurt these things. She felt herself snatched by the dark currents of the river, shut her eyes, and clung on as she was tugged down deeper and deeper. "Rose!" Vida yelled from the river's stone edge as the girl was plucked back down beneath the water.
"It's no good,"
said Mickey, staring in disbelief over the shoulder of the sailor he held in a necklock.
"She's gone."
"And so have the tracers." Vida hugged her own sailor dismally. "That's it then."
"I thought we wanted the tracers in the water,"
said Mickey. "The release trigger for the flasks is built into the bottom of the crate. Without that, the contents are locked inside. Useless." Feeling numb, she barely looked up as a fresh wave of noise crashed across from the far bank of the river. A seething scrum of people had broken through the barriers. They jumped or fell screaming into the river. Hundreds of them.
"That's it then,"
said Mickey. She thought he was talking about the exodus into the Thames. But as she slowly turned, she saw that the pirate and the kid had returned. And with them was Commodore Powers and a few other fright-night friends. Too late, Vida saw the water pooling at their feet. A moment later, two more of the ravaged figures burst into being. A submarine captain and an old man in a greatcoat. The old man, pearl eyes gleaming, pushed Mickey to the ground and grabbed Vida by the throat, while Powers led the others in a sudden, stumbling charge to get the rest of them. "Get on with it then," the doctor snarled. The Queen had slithered round behind him, squelching and slithering. Suddenly, the sinister fisherman released him, stood away. "About time," he said. "I've lost all feeling in my arms waiting for—" The sharp tips of her giant mandibles probed the back of his neck. It felt like scalding hot water was pumping into his body. "Feeling in the arms, back now, thanks," he gasped. Then it seemed he could do nothing but boil as the probes pushed into his spine. Keisha was caught up in the milling crowd as the barriers broke and overturned. She wanted to scream, but the breath had been all but crushed from her lungs by the crowds as she was carried backwards onto the wharf. Then she glimpsed a girl being jostled towards her. 7 or 8, a black girl, wide-eyed and terrified. Keisha just stared, paralysed for a few seconds. By the time she'd reached out a hand, it was too late. The girl had been bustled by. "Stop!" Keisha screamed, and she fell fighting into the crowd, into the river. She grabbed the little girl, putting all her strength into holding the child above her head, out of the water. Vida gasped as Mickey charged between her and the old man, breaking them apart. She staggered back to the river's edge, choking. In desperation, she was about to throw herself into the grey waters when it bubbled up right in front of her eyes. The crate tossed about on the river with Rose still clinging onto it like a half-drowned rat. "Wouldn't let me in!" Rose shouted frantically. "I think they know these things can hurt them. Want rid of them, but not me." The water foamed white around Rose and then erupted, throwing her clear as the entire crate was literally spat out of the water. Vida stared at it disbelievingly for a few seconds. There it was, their one shot at fighting back. But without the proper signal, there was no way to release the tracers from the flasks. Unless... The old man was scuttling towards her again. Vida broke into a run, fell upon the crate, tried to heave it back towards the river. "Mickey, that grenade, where is it?" But then the old man's hand clamped around her mouth, wormed into water that started to force its way down her throat. Holding her breath, weeping with fear, Vida kept furiously shoving at the crate, nudging it back towards the water, until the old man hauled her clear. He started to drag her away, arms and legs flailing. Why had he stopped? Vida looked down and saw Rose had resurfaced and was gripping the old man round the ankle, anchoring herself to him as something in the water tried to drag her back under. With the last of her strength, Vida twisted free and stumbled back over to the crate. She strained to shift it, but she was too weak. Then a hand clapped down on her shoulder. It was Mickey, and in his other hand he had the grenade. With both of them behind it, the crate scraped across the concrete till it sat teetering on the edge. Vida looked back. The old man was free once more, turning to face them. "We've got to blow it apart once it's in the water," she panted. 5-second fuse on these things," said Mickey, trying to jam it into a split in the crate's casing. "Will water put it out?" The old man grabbed hold of Mickey with one hand and threw him into the water. But the grenade was still wedged in place. A drowned child ran towards her, grinning, water spilling from its ears and nose. It threw itself onto her back, but Vida didn't let its cold, dead weight shift her. She depressed the safety handle, pulled on the pin. 5. By some miracle, the grenade stayed in place. The child's hands scrabbled for her throat. 4. Tendrils of water coiled round her throat like steel bands and squeezed. 3. Her vision blurring, holding her breath, Vida pushed herself and the crate forwards into the water with a cold splash. 2. At once, she was steered away and down into the dark depths of the river, the child riding her like a jockey. But what about the crate? Would it be thrown straight back out again? 1. The blackness grew absolute. Please, God, let it not all have been for nothing. Rose had used the last of her strength trying to stop the old man from getting Vida. Now she gave herself up to the darkness and the hungry current. Then shockwaves blasted through the water. There was a tang in her mouth, a cold chemical taste. And then Rose thought of the doctor. Shut her eyes as the entrance to the drainage channel loomed ready to swallow her. Will he ever know? She wondered. Will the doctor know we did it? And then suddenly there he was. She could see him, eyes tight shut, standing up in some blinding white place, standing in a bubbling pool of water with a monster close behind, its 2 needle tusks inserted deep into his neck. But somehow he must have sensed that her image was there, for his eyes opened Bambi-wide. She felt he could see her as clear and bright as the moon, and he forced a wonky smile. "Of course you did it," he said. Sinking to his knees, he put his fingers to his temples and shouted at the top of his lungs. "Doctor?" Rose didn't see or hear what happened next, because she was back in the black water, sinking like a stone. The doctor felt like barbed wire was being dragged round his head, snagging on every nerve. A bright ball of light was searing through his senses. Slowly it became a vast eye, filling his mind pearly and lolling in its encrusted carapace. "Now your cells are ours, Doctor." The eerie voice held no triumph, like it had always known things would end this way. "We have you." He spoke aloud, an anchor to the real world he could no longer see through his stinging eyes. Well, actually, I might just have you. We are linked to you now. You are as one with the hive. Yes, I am, the doctor agreed. Slowly he straightened, forcing himself to his feet. My mind is your mind and all that. We swim the same cold, deep water. Sorry, old love, but I think you might be in hot water. The doctor gritted his teeth. Because I let you into my head. I needed you up close and personal so I could fathom your wavelength. Puns fully intended, by the way, because now I know that my friends have done what they set out to do. I can do this. In his mind, he grabbed that heavy, dreadful eye and planted a big wet kiss upon it. For a second, he experienced life through the alien senses of the Queen. The signals that teemed about her like life, the billions of scraps of information that fed her, that sped from her, that held the hive in harmony and allowed it to spread and grow. He breathed in those senses. He experienced the hive dreaming through her, the first stirrings of life in every egg. And as he shuddered, so they stilled. Quickly he felt out through the black complexity of the alien water and grasped the new filaments that were drifting out in clusters. All those tiny transmitting filaments. Rose and Vida and Mickey and everyone had risked their little lives to get them there. And before the last of his strength could leave him, he thought over the Queen. He switched on those transmitters with a single murmured command. And he felt the same sting that she did as the water became alive with new signals. How long have you prospered by poisoning love and longing? The doctor gasped. How many races have you tricked, drowned and slaughtered just so you can go on existing? Well, it stops here. A piercing shriek jolted through his mind, but he did not falter. That's not just feedback. It's payback. As the Queen screamed out, the doctor screamed with her, cast out into the deep and the blackness. Surviving the blast in the water had been the easy bit. The child had drained away, but Vida was still caught in the eddying current. She shut her eyes as the creatures swarmed around her, pricked her with spindly tusks, tore at her skin like they wanted to tease her apart in revenge for what she had done. She felt herself spinning helplessly, like a whirlpool had sprung up and was dragging her in, or pushing her out. In a dizzying rush, she broke the surface of the water along with one or two of the laws of physics. Close behind her, Mickey popped up, cut and bruised and bewildered. "What's going on?" he spluttered. "Where did those things go?" Vida looked. Outside Stanchion House, the grisly, bloated figures of the long-since drowned had vanished, leaving the sailors in a daze on the concrete concourse. "I don't know," she said. "I don't have a clue." Back on the far bank, the people still tumbling into the Thames were bouncing back up, shrieking and screaming and splashing, but otherwise unharmed. And all across the water, as far as the eye could see, heads were bobbing into view, strange pearls given up by the riverbed. Vida was so gobsmacked she let in a mouthful of the water, then spat it out and grimaced. "Salt! This river's awash with salt!" Mickey managed to balance himself in a kneeling position. "Normal salt or weird alien salt?" "Give you two guesses," she offered, "but that's why we're floating. We can't sink." She gingerly stood up. "Look! I'm walking on water!" But Mickey wasn't looking. He was pointing past her, laughing and cheering, because the stodgy river had parted to allow Rose through, close to the bank outside Stanchion House. "You all right?" Mickey bellowed, scrambling across the water to reach her. "I think so." Her fingers traced the thin scars that lined her cheeks and neck. "These gill things, it's like they're healing, but it's so fast." Mickey stared at Rose, at the people spewed up by the salty river and walking on water. The bemused smile on his face slowly grew. "What happened? What the hell happened?" "What do you think happened?" Rose yelled, a grin breaking open her face. "The doctor happened." "Oi! Less of the past tense." came a weary but very familiar voice. "Doctor!" Rose led the chorus, just as she led the way over to grab him in a hug. "Thanks to you lot," the doctor explained, "I was able to set those little chemical transmitters going. Swamped the hive's means of communication. Without information, without coordination, the group mind was shattered. They went to pieces." "So what's happened to those fish creatures?" Vida asked. "You've been paddling in them," he said casually. "I told you they went to pieces. Unless I'm very much mistaken, the proteins they manipulated have been broken down into salts." He jumped clumsily onto the surface of the Thames, dipped his finger and licked it. "I'm not very much mistaken," he announced, grimacing. Relief swept over Vida and she smiled at him warmly. "I never doubted it for a second." Keisha sat on the wharf, wrapped in a tinfoil blanket and sipping Red Cross tea, hoping the police had found the little girl's parents by now. They had cordoned off this part of the bank and no one seemed keen to break that barrier on either side. When the sailors emerged from the river with their shiny eyes and slits in their faces, the authorities tried to hide them from view. But Keisha had caught sight of Jay and she'd struggled, threatened and beaten her way through to get to him. Now she rested her head on his shoulder as they stared out over the unlikely scenes of fear and jubilation on the solid grey stripe of the Thames. "Mum called me," she said. "We were going to go to you together. Something must have happened, I guess." He nodded. "But when all this calms down, when you're feeling better again," she looked at him, "well, we'll find her."
"Maybe."
"She called, Jay. She ain't forgotten us."
"Only 'cause I made her,"
he snorted softly.
"Mum ain't coming back, sis, whatever she said."
Keisha didn't speak for a while. "When she called up the flat out of the blue, I was going crazy thanks to you, and it was such a shock, it sort of made me snap out of it. I guessed that if she'd never gone away..."
"Well, maybe we've got something to thank her for after all," said Jay.
They looked at each other, and after a few seconds, shook their heads. "Nah." Jay laughed, held Keisha closer.
"Things can never be the way they were, 'cause we're none of us the people we were."
He smiled ruefully, waved at his still pearly eyes.
"Or did you notice that?"
A tear teased itself down her cheek. "Stop it," she said, and found she was talking to herself as much as to Jay. "You'll get better. You'll get back to how you were."
"I'm hoping I'll become more than that if I try."
He paused.
"Like Rose. No matter what happened or how bad things got, she never stopped trying, you know?"
Keisha nodded. "She's so different to how she was. She's amazing."
"What about you?"
Jay prodded her.
"You probably saved that little girl's life, sis. You made a difference."
"I didn't think. Just blundered in as usual."
"That's all life is, blundering about from one thing to the next."
Keisha half smiled. "I'm hoping for the best, yeah?"
"Gotta keep hoping, 'cause things keep changing."
He put his arm round her again.
"And if we want to, we can change with them."
The doctor was all for clearing off as soon as possible, as usual, but Rose wasn't going anywhere till she knew the people she loved were safe. Luckily, for her nerves and his attention span, the news came sooner rather than later. They were down in the gigantic labs, helping the baffled, frightened victims of the water hive out of the drainage pit in the darkness. It had been a bit of a scramble, but everyone got out alive, Anne included. Vida had found her boss, and the two had enjoyed a tearful reunion that bordered on the indecent. "Good working relationship," Rose observed. Vida led Andrew over by the hand. He looked to be in a bit of a daze, but Rose saw his scars were healing even faster than her own. "Now, I'd better get this one to a hospital and catch up with Kelper. There's a hell of a mess to clean up."
"Lucky he's got that cleaner with him," said Mickey.
"You joke, but he's already roped in her and Jody. They've set up a special emergency clinic at Aldgate Station. Anyone who's come into contact with the water needs to register for a special jab. That way the Navy can keep a quiet eye on everyone who's been in the water, just to check there are no long-term effects." Rose nodded. The doctor didn't seem to think there would be, but better safe than sorry. "Will you and the doctor be sticking around?" Vida asked her. She wrinkled her nose.
Not really our style. Uh-huh. Well, I wouldn't ask where you'll be going. We don't even know ourselves. But wherever it is, don't drink the water. She smiled, blew Rose and Mickey a kiss, and walked away. Rose glanced over at the doctor. He was facing her now, sneakers wet through, suit dishevelled, hair all over the place. Smiling. It was time to go. She looked back at Mickey. I'll be back again. In about 10 minutes, probably. Just you wait. And though neither of them really believed it, they smiled and nodded like it was true. She pressed a kiss against his cheek, waved to Vida and the others, then turned and walked slowly away, texting Keisha as she went. Whatever you do, be happy. See you soon. Love, R. Kiss, kiss, kiss. She reached the doctor, and he raised his eyebrows at her. Finished? Not quite. P.S. Big hugs to your gorgeous bruv. She pressed send and then switched off the phone. You know, there was this bloke who used to scare me and Keisha when we were kids. Old Scary, we called him. He used to go around shouting stuff in his horrible voice, all sorts of things. He even made the nice bits sound frightening. I'd hear him from my room sometimes. I'd hide under the covers and listen to him going on all night. She cast back her mind. Many waters cannot quench love. That was one he came out with a lot. Neither can the floods drown it. And? Rose shrugged. Maybe he wasn't really so scary after all. You want scary? The doctor took her hand. I'll show you scary. On the planet Jack Duster in the Dusty Jack Nebula, the chips cost a tenner a portion, and they don't even come in newspaper. Together they walked away. New adventures were waiting. Doctor Who, The Feast of the Drowned, by Stephen Cole, was read by David Tennant. It was produced by Kate Thomas and is published by BBC Audiobooks.